to Learning Literature with Purva. In this video, we are going to learn about literary devices or figures of speech that we commonly use in English literature. So what are figures of speech? Figures of speech such as simile, metaphor, alliteration make the literary work look beautiful. Writers use them to highlight a particular description or to emphasize an interesting detail by repetition of words or phrases or consonant sounds or vowel sounds and so on and so forth. So in this video, we are going to talk about many figures of speech such as simile, metaphor, allegory, conceit, alliteration, allusion, assonance, anaphora and antithesis. So watch the video till the end so that you can learn about the functions of all these literary devices. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, then do subscribe to it and hit the bell icon so that you never miss an update. So let's begin with the two most commonly used figures of speech, simile and metaphor. Simile is a figure of speech that compares two unlike things with like and as. Example, she is as beautiful as an angel. So she is compared to angel by using as. The trains move like huge elephants. It's again a simile because like is used to compare trains with elephants. Now what is metaphor? Metaphor is a figure of speech that compares two unlike things without using like or as. When we say she's as beautiful as a rose, we are using simile. When we say she is a rose, we are using metaphor. So we are directly saying that she is a rose. We are not using like or as there. So this is a metaphor. Now in literature, if we see any example, then the most classic example that we can find is from Shakespeare's As You Like It. There is a line, all the world is a stage, all the men and women merely players. So this is a classic example of metaphor. That world is directly compared to a stage. Like or as is not used. Then there is a line from John Donne's poem Sun Rising where he says, she is all states and all princes I. So he is comparing his beloved to all the states without using like or as. So I hope now you can understand the difference between simile and metaphor. Simile is when we are comparing by using like or as. She is as beautiful as a rose. Metaphor is when we are directly comparing without using like or as. She is a rose. Having an understanding of simile and metaphor will help you understand many other literary devices. So the next literary device that we are going to talk about is allegory. Allegory is a metaphor in which places, people, events, things are used to deliver a broader message about real-world issues. It is when a poem, play or a novel gives a moral lesson or a political message through symbolism. For example, The Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan is a classic example of religious allegory because the character, the protagonist of the novel, Christian, symbolizes every person who practices Christianity. So throughout his journey, the spiritual journey, he comes across various characters. Each character symbolizes either a virtue or a vice. Then another example is Edmund Spenser's Fairy Queen, where each knight symbolizes a virtue. So it is another example of allegory. Then George Orwell's Animal Farm. It is a classic example of political allegory, which talks about the evils of Russian Revolution. The next literary device that we are going to talk about is conceit. Now, conceit is an extended metaphor with a complex logic in which two heterogeneous objects are compared, two objects that are completely dissimilar. For example, in John Donne's poem, Valediction of Forbidden Mourning, he compares two lovers separated by distance with the two legs of a compass. So you can understand, right? Like two lovers separated by distance and the two legs of a compass. Like such heterogeneous objects, such dissimilar objects, but they are compared. So this is a classic example of conceit. Conceit was made popular by the metaphysical poets. The next literary device that we are going to talk about is allusion. Allusion is a figure of speech that gives reference to people, places, events, or other literary works directly or indirectly. It is up to the reader to find the correct connection. For example, T.S. Eliot's Wasteland. It is sprinkled with allusions. T.S. Eliot has alluded to Geoffrey Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. How he has alluded? Geoffrey Chaucer has written, April is the sweetest month of the year, whereas Eliot has written, April is the cruelest month of the year. So an indirect allusion is used. Then he has also alluded to Shakespeare's plays Hamlet, Tempest. Then he has alluded to Gautam Buddha, Saint Augustine, and many more. So this is a classic example of allusion. Next on our list is alliteration. Alliteration is the repeated use of the same consonant at the beginning of each word in a line. For example, she sells seashells by the seashore. So you can see the same consonant S is used at the beginning of each word in the line. So it is used to give a musical quality to the line. It can also sound like a tongue twister. A classic example of alliteration is from Macbeth. There is a line, fair is foul and foul is fair. So you can see the consonant F is used again and again at the beginning of each word to produce that musical effect. Assonance, on the other hand, is the repetition of a vowel sound in a sentence. It can be a little tricky to find out assonance, but with regular practice, you can find it out. Let's look at a few examples. Try to light the fire. So you can see the I vowel sound is repeated. Try to light. Try, light, fire. So the I vowel sound is repeated in the line. Then, hear the mellow wedding bells. Mellow wedding bells. So the E vowel sound is repeated throughout the sentence. Then, it's hot and it's monotonous. The O vowel sound is repeated. It's hot in hot and it's monotonous. So the O vowel sound is repeated. The crumbling thunder. Crumbling and thunder. So the U vowel sound is repeated in the line. So assonance is a repetition of vowel sounds. Like if you read the line aloud, then you can easily understand when assonance is used. The next literary device that we are going to talk about is anaphora. Anaphora is the repetition of a certain word or phrase at the beginning of successive lines or clauses. It gives a musical quality to the lines and therefore it really appeals to the readers. Let's look at a few examples from English literature. The first example is from Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness. That's how the novel starts. So you can see the phrase it was the is repeated again and again. So it is a classic example of anaphora. Another example is from William Wordsworth's Tintern Abbey, which begins with 5 years have passed, 5 long summers with the length of 5 long winters. So you can see 5, the word is repeated again and again. So it is also a classic example of anaphora. Finally, we come to the last literary device for this video, antithesis. Antithesis is a rhetorical device in which two contrasting ideas are put together in a single sentence to produce an effect. In Paradise Lost, Satan says it's better to reign in hell than to serve in heaven. So you can see two totally different ideas are put together in a same sentence. Reign in hell, serve in heaven. Reign, serve. Heaven, hell. Completely different. Then there is a famous proverb which says, speech is silver, silence is gold. Another example of antithesis. Then Pope has said, to err is human, to forgive divine. So this is another example of antithesis, where two contrasting ideas are put together in the same sentence. Now you may confuse antithesis with oxymoron and paradox, which are quite related to it. But in the next video, we are going to discuss about oxymoron, paradox and many other literary devices so that you can clearly understand the difference. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you found it helpful, then please like it and do share with all your friends. I'll be back next weekend with a part 2 of this video where I'll be discussing many more literary devices. So do subscribe to my channel and wish you all a very happy and blessed Navratri. Thank you for watching.